Hello and welcome to Module 7 of SMART Board training. This module is all about getting connected to what's called Smart Exchange. It's just a website that's owned by the company that makes your SMART Board, and it serves as a repository of lessons that other folks have uploaded or even that have come from SMART itself, and you have access to that. So you can download these things and even manipulate them to fit your needs. So let's take a look at our learning targets. So I can access the Smart Exchange website. We'll start there. I can create a Smart Exchange account. You'll need one of those. I can find a lesson or activity that interests you or that meets some standards that you're teaching, and that's found on the Smart Exchange website. I can preview a .notebook file using Smart Notebook Express. That's a web-based version of the program you have on your computer, Smart Notebook. I can download a .notebook file, locate it, and open it on my computer. So that's a little file management there. And then I can unlock locked objects in the downloaded file using Smart Notebook, so I can manipulate them. A lot of these lessons you'll see are locked, for good reason, but in order to resize things or change things around, you'll have to figure out what's locked and unlock them and go from there. And then I can edit the content of an existing .notebook file so it fits my needs. Let's get started. First, let's see how to access the Smart Tech or Smart Exchange website. Of course, there's always a couple different ways to do it. I can reach there in the gallery. We see there's this fifth line down that says Smart Exchange, and from there it's basically just a website, and that's the website you want to go to, exchange.smarttech.com. So I can just tap it there. It should open a browser window, or you can just type in exchange.smarttech.com into, well, let's see it happen in a browser here. exchange.smarttech.com. Okay. Now, before we dive into all the content that we can find on the Smart Exchange website, I do want to show off how to sign up for an account. Now, when you have an account on the Smart Exchange website, it will allow you to keep a profile on the site, to mark favorites that you found, to upload your own content if you get to the point where you're actually wanting to share what you've made with other teachers. So it's not required to access the content, it just gives you some extra perks. So let's show off that right off the bat. If I have an account, I'll hit sign in, but if I've never joined, then I want to click this link that says join for free. When I click that, I get some text boxes to enter information into. Your school email address works fine. Then you create a password. Your display name, that'll just be like your username, even though you'll still log in with your email address. I would probably dissuade you from clicking that box there. That will say that you want Smart to contact you about their products. But let's use a little movie magic to fill this in, and then we will agree and continue. Now, once here, it's going to ask for a few more things. It says sharing the following information will provide you with the most relevant content. So in one way or another, they're going to take basically your content area and your grade levels and customize the results to your needs. So it's definitely worth clicking what grade levels you teach in your content areas. So I will just do an example here, and submit. Now, once I submit, I'll get this message that my registration has been submitted. I do need to go back to the email that I entered to activate my account by clicking the link that's in there. So you should get an email that looks like this with a big long link to go ahead and just click. And once I do, it will open up a new tab, let me know that my account has been validated. I should be able to wait a few more seconds and it'll kick me back to that main page. Looks like I am signed in. But anytime you want to sign in, you'll just click that sign in and enter your email address and the password you just created. Now we're back on the Smart Exchange website. We want to see if we can find lessons or activities that interest you, that you could see using all or part of in one of your classes. So let me direct your attention to the big search bar. That's definitely a good place to start. Let's just type in a topic, Age of Enlightenment, for example, and just see what we come up with. I just press enter. I could click the little magnifying glass button, and we see our results. Right now they're being sorted by best match. Right now I've got no other filters on there. I could make sure that I was in the right content area by checking social studies and history. You can check as many of those as you want. I could also be sure of the grade level. For example, high school, I could just check all the high school grades. Probably want to keep it to United States from where it came from. Probably wouldn't mess with any of this stuff either. Most of the results are some form of notebook file, so you could just basically leave that alone, and I would just hit go there, and we could see probably pretty similar to what we got, as it's a pretty advanced topic. So Age of Enlightenment is the title of the first lesson that pops up. I could also sort it by newest, most downloads, or most recommended. These two definitely worth diving into, as they've showing the ones that get the most action, so there's a reason for that. But let me just click on this first lesson that's interesting to me right off the bat. Now, as I click the title, I'll get more information about it. We can see that there are 18 slides. Notebook project on the Age of Enlightenment makes use of clickers, so that is using the response system that we'll get into in Module 10. It says uses clickers, but that can be just a laptop or a mobile device. And even if you didn't want to use that, you could just take that page out. The cool thing about this, it's got 18 pages. Maybe I'll only use one of them. There's nothing that says I have to use every bit of every lesson that I find on here. But let me show you. I can download it, but I can also preview it. And one way to preview it is just to flip through the slides on these arrows here. We can see here's an example of where it would ask for a student response. But I can also click this link here that says Open in Smart Notebook Express. So let's see what that does for us. So here is the lesson opened up in Smart Notebook Express. Notice it looks a lot like Notebook, but it's all on the web. So we are still in the Chrome browser, but it's opened up within the browser, similar to the way a Google Doc opens up a document within the browser. Things don't always come out lined up. We can see, for better or worse, that there's a little overlap there. But we can also see how this stuff is editable from the start. Unless they've locked it down, which all I have to do is unlock, you can start messing around with this stuff, even in the Express version. Express really serves two purposes. One is to preview lessons. Another is for students who don't have Smart Notebook on their actual machine at home, but they can still see a lesson by pulling it up in Smart Notebook Express. Soon we'll see how to just pull up any notebook file using Notebook Express, and I'll be able to look at a lesson, or a student will be able to look at a lesson without actually having that software downloaded onto their computer. Everything is limited, although it does behave the same. We see the handles to rotate, the drop down, but a lot less options in Smart Notebook Express, because basically you could create in this space, but you wouldn't have all the options that you would in the full-fledged notebook. So again, this is really at this point just serving to give me a better idea of what this lesson looks like, to see if I might want to download it. Because if I do want to use it, I probably don't want to run it off of the page. Again, things tend to not quite line up, and things they just don't work as smoothly. So if I want to download that thing, I'm going to go back to the page where I saw the information about it, and just click this download button here. Now if I'm in Chrome, your downloads pop up here, and it's telling me I've got about a minute left. By default, they'll go into the downloads folder, so I can click that little arrow and say show in folder. I kind of like to see that, and notice there it is. As soon as that icon turns blue, it's ready to be used. So I could just double click that icon again. In downloads, that was the default place where it landed. So let me just double click that, and it'll open up in Smart Notebook. Now here's where we get into the editing process. So you're basically deconstructing something that someone else has already put together. And you can see right off the bat, Kaleem Razem, while I appreciate their work, you can either change that to your name or just get rid of it completely. As we can see, things aren't lining up even in the main version. So you might have some adjustment to do. Any of this stuff is editable. Now notice everything I found so far is just ready to move around. A lot of times you'll get to a lesson where things are locked, and this person didn't really lock things up, so everything is kind of loose. as I try to move it around the page. So that's just something to discover. You know, if I tap on an object and I see the full-fledged box around it with the drop down, you know, it's not locked, but you might find that someone has gone in and just locked everything down. And of course, an easy way to do that would be selecting it all. Of course, this is kind of going in the opposite direction, but say that you got this and you're like, oh, that's not quite right. Well, you know, I want that date moved. Well, then I go to unlock, move it around, and then, well, you could lock it back if you wanted to. So again, I can delete a whole page. You know, maybe I don't want this page at all. Maybe I'll just take out that whole page. You know, this is something that is using clickers or devices to enter an answer. Maybe I just want it as a discussion piece. So, you know, any of this stuff is editable. Can just delete there, or, you know, that's a nice delete key. Keep in mind, if it's not there for you, we can always add it by dragging it up there. But yeah, it's basically using all the tools that we've learned so far to deconstruct these things and to make them your own. And that includes, you know, maybe I'm like, wow, look at this image. Maybe I want to just make sure I have this in another lesson. Well, why not just move it right over into my content? Remember, any of this stuff is, you know, I don't want to say stealable, but, you know, that's the idea, to share and to use each other's resources there. So as we can see, as I click through this, I'll probably keep finding things that are unlocked, but that's the basic idea, is to just kind of click around and customize it to meet your needs. And a lot of that means unlocking things that might be nailed down to the canvas that you might want to adjust to fit your screen, or remove some parts, make other parts bigger. Basically just customize it so you like it. And I wanted to show a couple more ways to find content on the Exchange other than just putting in a search term. You'll notice that if I start off by subject, I'll kind of end up where I already was. You know, imagine I want a social studies lesson. As soon as I tap that, well, it just gives me a search result of anything related to social studies. So I can still type in a topic there. I can still narrow it down by grades there. So it's very similar to as if I would have started by putting in a search term right there. So I wanted to point out a couple more things. One is under the Standards Aligned link. And from there, your first drop-down box, you can get to a specific state standards. So I can go to, there's North Carolina Essential Standards, North Carolina Standard Course of Study. So if you were trying to hit a specific standard, you can go to one of these two links. So let's just choose Standard Course of Study. I can choose a specific grade, and then I can select a subject here. So let's try English Language Arts and see what we come up with. Now this time we are looking at resources under each different standard. So there's my standard 11.1, and if I drop down View Resources, then I can see results similar to before, where I see the title of the lesson, I can download it, or open it in Smart Notebook Express. So let's, we saw the options for when I can see the preview of it there. I can see a preview of it in Smart Notebook Express, but let's go ahead and download one. So I'll hit this download button, and then that will, in Chrome, pop up down here, and it usually happens pretty fast. So it's ready to open. The only catch to just opening it is sometimes you're not sure where it actually landed. I really like this Show in Folder, and each browser, one way or another, has this option to show what you downloaded in the folder. So I usually tap that just to be sure of where it landed. Now, by default, downloads go into the Downloads folder, and you can see mine is jam-packed. But looks like this is the newest one, and I do have mine sorted by date modified, which helps me realize the latest thing. So if I locate that in Downloads, I can just double-click it to open it up in Smart Notebook Express. I'm sorry, Smart Notebook 15. This is the full-fledged version, of course. And let's see. So looks like very limited lesson here. We've got a nice little sorting activity, and then which characters suffer in this drama? Which ones will die? Hang the witches and save. Okay, and this is an example of something that's locked. So I'm going to unlock and see what I'm missing here. Hang the witches and save. Alright, so there's a bit of organization to do here, but sometimes things you find just really give you an idea, and maybe you see something like this and you're like, well, I could do that even better. But just to give me an idea of what I might want to do myself. And the one more thing I wanted to show off that you can find on the Exchange are things that aren't necessarily related to your content area, but templates that you can add your own content into. First thing that comes to mind are things like review games, like a Jeopardy template or some other kind of game that is kind of blank for you to enter your own content into. A lot of them are found in these top downloads here. So we see a few of them here, and I can hit more, and these are worth checking out because they've gotten the most amounts of downloads. People are interested in them for a reason. So there's a whack-a-mole game where students can throw a koosh ball to open up a question. Again, this game can be customized. Jeopardy, I've seen a few Jeopardy templates, and if you want Jeopardy specifically, that is something that you could search for there. But Connect 4, you can somehow add a question between each turn. So a lot of these are worth checking out. Another Jeopardy template. You'll see some are content specific. Classroom Feud, that looks like another game, maybe worth checking out. So remember that not all lessons will be aligned to your specific content. So it's worth searching for types of review games if you have something in mind, and you might get lucky there. And I also wanted to show off one more use for that Smart Notebook Express that we saw, basically the web-based version of Smart Notebook. So far we saw it to do something like preview. Remember, we could preview any of these lessons in Smart Notebook Express. But if you just go to express.smarttech.com, it's just a kind of like opening notebook, a blank presentation that you can actually work on through a browser. So if you were in a pinch at home and you wanted to throw together a lesson and you didn't have your school computer, that would be one way to do it. You'll see that there are certainly limitations to making a notebook file in this program, but it's possible. The thing I see it more used for is to open existing notebook files, but not you, maybe a student who is absent and you've got notes from class saved in a notebook file. Well, you could post that to your website or post that in your Canvas, and the student could access that notebook file, but open it up in Smart Notebook Express because they probably don't have Smart Notebook on their home device. So you would tell your students to download that .notebook file and then go to express.smarttech.com and open an existing file, and this is where it's asking for a notebook file. So the student would have to have that file, again, downloaded from your website or from Canvas, or even on a flash drive that you've given them, and then they can find that file. Let me see if I can just find a random one. Let's see. Okay, so this is a file that I made in the desktop version of Smart Notebook, but I'm opening it up within Smart Notebook Express. We'll see how long it takes. And again, the functionality is limited, but it certainly is good for showing written notes, images, flowcharts, concept maps, all that stuff can open up. It takes a little while. I think I actually opened one with quite a few images. So yes, here it is. You can see my pull tab is looking a little ragged, and things may not act as smooth, but it works. And any .notebook file can be opened in this browser version of Smart Notebook. And now we find ourselves at the end of Module 7. Please contact me if you have any questions about any of this stuff. Keep in mind the .notebook file you're submitting this week is one that you grabbed from the Exchange and then modified to fit your needs. So whether it's a game or something related to your content area, I'd like you to find something that you can use and tweak it to make it work for you, and that will be your submission for this module.